Hey, what's up there? This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video, I want to talk about something very important, and that is Bitcoin spot ETFs and what a Bitcoin spot ETF will do for the Bitcoin market and the Bitcoin price. But before we get to that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If this is the first time you're catching one of my videos, be sure to like and share and follow me on Twitter or Threads. So the reason why I want to talk about this is because the US SEC is accepting multiple spot Bitcoin ETF proposals. And one of the most important ones, as I'm sure you guys have already are aware, is by this man right here, Larry Fink of BlackRock, one of the largest managers of financial assets on the planet. They have a fantastic record of getting spot ETFs approved with only one application rejected. Now, one other thing I want to draw your attention to is a research paper that was done by NYDIG. I'll have this link in the description, but they break down the demand size of a potential Bitcoin spot ETF. And what they're comparing it here is they're comparing it to the gold allocation in people's portfolios. So if they used a similar allocation to gold, what you would wind up getting is a $30 billion increase in demand incrementally for a Bitcoin spot ETF, okay? And if we go ahead and take a look at how this would actually affect the Bitcoin price, we also have to realize that if we take a look at the Bitcoin exchange reserve, which is the number of Bitcoin held on exchanges, we can see here that we have about 2 million or so Bitcoin currently held on exchanges. Okay, keep this in mind. We're going to go back to this. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin spot ETFs are actually in place around the world, such as Canada, Brazil, and Dubai. Okay, there is a $30 billion of demand shock, again, that we were talking about here. Now, if you guys remember, the total market cap of Bitcoin right now is $570 billion, so it may not seem like a lot when we say $30 billion, but stick with me here because this part's really important. If we go and we compare that to the 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges, and we assume a $30,000 price, all we have to do is divide those two together, and we get about 1 million. Okay, so that $30 billion of demand shock translates into, at this price, 1 million Bitcoin in demand, okay? 1 million Bitcoin in demand. So if we take a look at that and we compare it to the Bitcoin on the exchanges, you're talking about half of the Bitcoin on the exchanges that would have to be bought if we assume this $30 billion of demand. Okay, now one other thing I want to go ahead and draw your attention to is, okay, what about the Bitcoin supply held in wallets and addresses? Okay, what about this? Because as the price moves up, you can expect that the people that hold the Bitcoin in their wallets are going to wind up selling at some point and taking profits. Well, we have up to 78% of supply currently being held by long-term hodlers. All right, and again, this is defined when we define long-term hodlers. What we're talking about is people that have held their Bitcoin for at least 6 months. And as soon as you cross that 6 month threshold, the wallets are much less likely to sell in the short term. So they will only be likely to sell near all-time highs. And so I want to go ahead and bring your attention to this, the number of long-term hodlers and long-term hodler behavior. If we take a look at Glassnode's Bitcoin percent of young versus old supply, we can see here that we're at almost 80%, very close to 80% last time they were actually moved. Okay, so about 78% of long-term hodlers are not moving their Bitcoin currently. But in the past bull market, what we've seen here is we've seen a large number of these hodlers sell near the all-time highs. So again, we go back here to 2021, we can see a big dip here in the old supply here. So that would kind of indicate that when we get near all-time highs, they're much more likely to sell, especially as we make new highs. Okay, so when we factor that in, we factor this in, what that means, the bottom line of this analysis is that half of all available Bitcoin on exchanges will be purchased. Okay, now the context of this demand, however, would be that it would take place over many months or years after the spot BTC ETF approval. Okay, so I don't expect that this would happen overnight. I don't expect that this would happen within a couple of weeks. I expect this would happen over a couple of months or a couple of years after the SEC finally approves a Bitcoin spot ETF. And I do believe that it is a when and not an if. When we talk about when we talk about the spot ETF approval, it is only a matter of time. And the reason for that is because we've already seen around the world that there are other spot ETFs that are being approved. And on top of that, we may get some new leadership at the SEC very soon, and they could have different opinions about this. All right, so bringing this all together. So my conservative speculation, and this is important to point out, this is a conservative speculation, okay? I like to be conservative in my assumptions because that way they're not quite as outlandish. It's more likely that it actually happens. But my conservative speculation is that it would provide a pathway for Bitcoin to climb back up the previous all-time high, so at the very least, 69,000, okay? And then at that point, you would most likely wind up seeing long-term hodlers they'd begin selling, and then as soon as you get higher than that, they would sell even higher, like we've seen in previous bull markets. Now, my timetable for approval is 1 to 3 years. This would happen basically 1 to 3 years after that spot ETF approval. Now, again, this is a conservative speculation. You have some folks out there who are saying, like Fundstrat, that a Bitcoin could go up to 180,000. Okay, so I want to be more conservative than that. I don't want to say 180,000, but at the same time, you have some analysts that are predicting from Fundstrat that it could potentially go up to 180,000 because of that Bitcoin spot ETF approval, and then you have the halving as well. So if you toss that all together and you put that together, you can see that there are significant demand drivers in a market where supply is extremely limited. Okay, again, only 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges, and on top of that, most Bitcoin is being held by long-term hodlers, which will not sell until at least the all-time high or somewhere near there, and you get yourself a recipe for an explosive price action. Now, I want to go ahead and bring this all together. We talk about the price action, and I want to start with what happened during the futures ETF approval. We can see here, I've marked it here on the chart. That happened at about 60,000 or so back in October of 2021, and that did push the price up here to about the all-time high of about 69,000. Now, I would expect a spot ETF to be even more extreme of a price movement. Again, I think on the conservative side, we come up here to 69,000 again, very possible. And also, if we include the halving, it is very possible that we maybe even breach that 100,000 level. But again, I want to say conservatively, my base case is back up to 69K, and my time frame for this is probably going to be within 1 to 3 years. Again, not financial advice, just educational and my own speculation on what a Bitcoin spot ETF could do to the price. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think that we could wind up going back to all-time highs, or is it really not going to affect the Bitcoin price that much? I'm definitely interested in hearing. Be sure to leave a comment below and let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the matter. And if you guys enjoy this kind of analysis from Bitcoin spot ETF or anything, let me know below. Definitely appreciate it. This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and I hope to catch you guys in the next video.